You are now tuned in with the Smoky Mirror podcast, dedicated to those of us doing God's work. And what is God's work? Creating with intention. My name is Jordan Jones, and I'm your host. And I'm on a mission to spread information and inspiration to the next generation of creators aimed at changing the world. Today, I'm joined with friend of the show and Smoky Mirror alum, Billionaire PA. Welcome back, Billionaire. It's good to have you, my friend.
Dang, brother, I'm an alum now.
You an alum?
Oh man,
you an alum?
You gotta give me a pen or something.
You gonna get there. You gonna get there.
You gotta put me in the 1% club or something.
No, you're right. We gonna get you there. You know what I'm saying? We setting it up right. And we have a special guest with us today, Coach Damont, aka Mr. Own Nothing, Control Everything.
Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. So, for those of us who aren't familiar with your work, Coach Damont, can you just kind of run us through what you all about?
Well, I'm a wealth coach. I became a wealth coach after I just had a 20-year anniversary. Started doing credit 20 years ago.
You was 20 years old, right?
Yes, 20. Well, I wasn't 20 years old. I was 20 yeyears old. Yeah, I was 20 years old. Yeah,
I seen that video.
I was 20 years old.
About to tell your age, man.
When I started, yeah. I felt like I was older, but yes, I was 20 years old when I first started. My background is in real estate, so I started flipping houses. My uncles, the Bowles brothers, were flipping houses at the time, and they taught me the game. Up until today, I flipped over 100 houses.
Wow.
So I use flipping houses, learning about credit, learning about financial literacy, and connecting the dots. So I then later met my billionaire mentor, and he told me that I needed to be the solution to a problem. So I felt like the solution to the problem was bigger than just credit. It was more of financial building and helping people to start the structure of building generational wealth.
That's what's up. And so when I saw a couple of videos where you're mentioning that billionaire mentor. Is this mentor really a billionaire?
Yeah, his family, he's a Jewish man. So the story behind that, I was sleeping in my car in L.A. I had moved to L.A. and from Indianapolis, and I ran out of money. And I was in my early 20s. I made my first million when I was 20. I made my first million when I was 24, and I lost it when I was 27.
Wow.
So I'm in LA streets, sleeping in my car. I had a Hummer at the time, and Roscoe's is on. You familiar with
Chicken
LA?
and Waffles, right?
Yeah, on Gower and Sunset.
Okay.
So that was where I used to sleep all the time. And there was an LA Fitness over there. That's where I used to cut my hair. So somebody called me. They said, the mom will invite you to a party at the House in the Hills. So I went to Hollywood Hills to a party after taking a shower at LA Fitness, and I'm standing in the corner by myself, and this man walks over, and he asked me a question, and he says, son, what is the vision that you have for your life? Nobody had never asked me that. And I told him, I said, I'm going to be a billionaire. I said, I didn't know that at that time he was a billionaire. I said, I'm going to be a billionaire, and I'm going to change the world, and I'm going to help change generations after me. And he said, later on after talking, he said, man, let's meet at Starbucks. But my mindset at that time was, what does this man want with me? You know, because I was brought up to think that if somebody asks for something, they want something in return. So what does this man want in return? He's going to try to sell me something. What does he want? What is his motive? What is his agenda? Later on, he said he saw something in me from the conversation, and still to this day, we talk, and he's my mentor, and he's helped me to learn about a lot of the financial wealth tools that I teach and share with my community now.
That's amazing. So what made you want to? So you said you made $1 million when you was 24?
24 in real estate, yes.
Wow, and you lost it.
I lost it because nobody told me how to keep it.
That's crazy. So you was just living life fast, enjoying life.
Well, I went to All-Star game in Vegas, took all my friends, went shopping, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, bought a car, bought a house, and then 3 years later, I was broke.
That's crazy. So you pretty much doing...
Because at that time, we were going into a recession.
Yeah.
So the housing market was now crumbling, and that's 06, 07. So when nobody taught me I knew how to make money in real estate, but I didn't know about streams of income. So nobody taught me, okay, well, you got one stream, but if the housing market crumbles, you're not going to have any money coming in.
Right.
So
what else you gonna do?
so yeah, and because I had a poverty mindset, I felt like, okay, I'm flipping 4 or 5 houses a month. So I was spending the money before I even got it. You know, but when the housing market crumbled, the banks weren't lending money, so you couldn't even get a loan for a house. So I was stuck with a bunch of houses.
I wanted to ask you a question, but I wanted to say this first and foremost. I feel like now when we watch a lot of social media, you got a lot of people telling people how to become a millionaire, or teaching them how to actually get a house, or how to get a very attractive, expensive female, or get the nice Rolls Royce or the G-Wagon. But I think that a lot of people don't understand the upkeep of it and how to actually manage it, because I actually think that it's more expensive to manage the house than it is to get it.
Yeah.
I think it's more expensive. Like, it's easy for me to get a beautiful, expensive girl, but the upkeep of that, you know what I'm saying? Can you do the upkeep? How important was it for you to actually have a mentor after you made your first million at 24, lost it at 27? How important is it for these young people to have a mentor to teach them on how to actually manage their money, manage their credit, and manage their debt?
I think you need, and I learned this from my mentor, I think you need a mentor or a coach for every area of your life. Fitness, health, finances, credit, mental health. I think you need a mentor for every area of life. So I think that what we have to do is we have to uncondition our minds, which is unlearn. That's what my mentor taught me. He said, you have to unlearn. He said, when I told him I was going to be a billionaire, he said, my family, I was born into 7 generations of wealth. He said, and what you're going to have to do because of your background is you're going to have to unlearn everything that you've been taught from the ages 1 to 12. He said, all of the habits, all of the mindsets, all of the everything that the system has taught you, and that your family has taught you, and that your community has taught you, if you want to get to this level, you have to unlearn all of those things. So what I had to do was uncondition my mind, where my mind had been conformed, as I was telling you when I met the mentor, my mind had been conformed to think, why am I going to trust this man? I can't trust this man because I got daddy issues already. Right. So if I got daddy issues, I got abandonment issues, I can't trust this man to lead me, because he's going to leave me. He's going to abandon me just like my father did. So I had to unlearn that in order for me to get in a position to where I could listen to him say, hey, where's your money going? You need to quit buying friends. You need to quit going on trips. You need a budget. You need. That's how I got into credit. You need credit. He said, we don't use our money. We use the bank's money. But I was taught to use my money. I was taught from my family, if you can't pay cash for it, you don't need it. But he taught me about debt, good debt, bad debt. He taught me about the family trust. He said, everything we do is in our trust. He said, that's why we don't pay taxes. He said, a lot of your community's money goes into cars and houses, clothes, and material things and clothes. He said, our money goes into our trust. He said, because we're planning for the next 10 generations. He said, so at the end of the day, you have to change the mindset that you have, that you've been conditioned, but it's okay, because your grandparents and your great-grandparents, they were survivors. They had to survive, but you're not in survival mode anymore.
That's right.
You have been given tools, and he says, you have me, and I'll show you how to open the trust. I'll show you how to structure your life. I'll show you how to build credit. I'll walk you into the bank and get you a loan. He said, but if I walk you into the bank and get you a loan and you don't do right with the money, then it's not going to do any good. So he told me, he said, quit praying for more money. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to pray for more discipline. So that's what I teach the people in my program. Pray for more discipline. Teach yourself discipline. Quit praying for more money. The first thing we do when we get our tax check is go get a Corvette, a car, a house, a furniture. But we don't sit down and say, how can we create assets? How can we invest? What is the step that we need in order to help change the narrative of our family?
I love how you said that, because I tell people all the time, if you're not programming yourself, you're getting programmed.
Absolutely.
And growing up in America, you're always bombarded with things in capitalism that force you to feel like you need to buy more because that's how it works. We get people into being debt slaves because we want you to be purchasing to solve your problems.
Well, you know what that comes from? That comes from, like, a lot of people don't realize, but the more depressed you are, the more money you spend. And whenever somebody can keep you depressed, they control your emotions. And it's unfortunate in our community. We a lot of us battle with depression.
Yeah.
A lot of us want the success story, like, oh, I had to go through the mud, I had to go through this. Why do we have to all have that same sad story?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we doing what we doing. My child shouldn't have to go through what I went through. But a lot of our parents have been programmed to say, oh, I got it out the mud, you gonna get it out the mud. I personally believe that's the stupidest thing you could tell a child. Because if you doing the podcast, this podcast that you doing should set your children up to where they need to be on a whole nother level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like all we should be doing is guiding them. So in concluding what you said, I feel like having a mentor, what I heard you say, that mentor took your mindset from having a surviving mindset to a thriving mindset. You know, taking that mindset from a broke or a rich mindset into a wealthy mindset. And where I like to say, you know, the first two letters in wealth spell we. So I feel like if us three come together, we let go of the ego, create the we go. So
Absolutely.
wherever he go, you go, I go. And we all speak our dreams into existence. You know what I'm saying? My question for you, bro, is when was the first time that how old were you when you first heard about a trust?
When I first heard about a trust,
Like, just the word.
I had to have been in my 20s.
I was in my 30s.
I was a kid, but again, I grew up in the 80s.
Okay.
But I used to hear in my family, people would say, oh, that's a trust fund baby. So when they would talk about certain individuals that had a lot of money, whether they're on TV or whether they saw them, you know, they were notable people. So in my mind, I was conditioned in the 80s and the 90s to think that a trust fund baby was bad.
Right. It's like a negative connotation. You had
I
silver spoon.
I thought it was bad. And then I was talking to my mentor one day, and he said, wouldn't you want your kids to be trust fund babies? And I said, yeah. He said, that's a structure. He said, the problem with your community, not to downplay your community, because your community is a community of survivors, but your community doesn't have structure. So what a trust does, and a trust fund baby is a baby that's born into structure, saying, hey, if you don't do this, you can't get this. Hey, I'm not going to give you this until you do this. Hey, these are the requirements for you to get this. Hey, this is the family bank. So when you have an idea, you want to buy land, or you have a business idea, or you want to invest in something, you're going to go to our family bank, like the Rockefellers.
I love that. Yeah, because I talk to people all the time about the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so if you can architect out a path for your next generation, it kind of it takes all the anxiety out of it. It's like, I have the resources and the know-how and the steps to live a wealthy life.
Yes.
Yeah. So I listened to you talk, Damont, and you know, how do you convince our generation who has trust issues to invest in a trust when many of them don't even know what a trust is to this day?
Well, many of our community didn't know what stocks was until till COVID hit. We were stuck in the house and everybody started downloading Robinhood. So I think that, you know, most people didn't know what Cabo or Cancun was until people started traveling there. You know, so I think that if you care, keyword family, I think if you care about your family and the narrative of your family, you'll take the time to learn it. And that's what I'm dedicated to doing, teaching 100,000 families about a trust, about trust fund babies, about what the blueprint that the Rockefellers use, and the Carnegies and the Trumps and the Ford family, all these people that we know their last name. Why do we know their last name? Because they had structure. Because somebody somewhere in some generation decided, hey, I'm going to build a structure so that in 10 generations they'll still know your name.
Correct.
So I challenge everybody that watches this: will they know your name in 7 generations? The only way they'll know your name in 7 generations is if you leave them something. Right. So we don't know our great grandparents, do we?
I don't.
Because they didn't leave us nothing. Right. But the Rockefellers know who John Rockefeller is.
Absolutely.
Because
and
why?
we do.
And we do because why?
He left them something.
He left them something.
Yeah. Can we talk about what a trust is? Because I need to know.
Trust after this. Right. You can sign me up right now.
Right. Like how trust structured? How do they work? How do you get started? Let's talk about
trust is the most powerful, to me, the most powerful the most powerful thing that you can have. Like a trust can get you out of debt. You could transfer your debt over to a trust. With a trust, you don't need a prenup. So if you get married or you decide to get divorced, you don't have to worry about the prenup, because why? Nelson Rockefeller said, own nothing, control everything. So you don't own anything. Your trust now owns it, which makes you now lawsuit proof. So if somebody says, hey, you got some real estate, somebody falls off the roof and says, hey, I'm going to sue you, but I'm going to take all your other businesses and I'm going to take your podcast and I'm going to take everything that you own. They can't do it because you know why? Because you don't own nothing. The trust owns it. The trust, zero liability. As long as it stays in zero tax liability. As long as it stays in the trust, it's not taxable. You know, so that's why Trump, you know, when they was going through the stuff with Trump and he was running for office, it was like, oh, he hasn't paid any taxes. We trying to audit the IRS. Well, everything he does is in his trust. So then we get to tax liability, no prenup, limit, getting out of debt, and you can build business credit with a trust. So it has an EIN number. So it's a lot of benefits to a trust, man. Like it's one of the most powerful. It's not governed by the government. So you don't have to worry about that. You can get a land trust where nobody can ever take your land, your house.
So wait, this is it's like an entity. It's kind of like a business. But it's almost like
it's not a business because it's not governed by, it's not a corporation, so it's not governed by the government. A trust is contract law. So a trust is an agreement and a contract that's built with three parties, a grantor, a trustee, and beneficiaries. That's all you need to do a trust.
So the grantor, say if we the seventh generation, you know, we starting the trust, would that be the grantor?
No. So with this is a private trust. So with a private trust, the grantor is who starts the trust, because you can't start the trust as a trustee. So the grantor starts the trust, and then there's an exchange. That exchange can be this toy car. That exchange can be silver, gold, a pen, and then you sign the contract. And now I transfer my control, because I don't own anything. I don't own the trust, but I control it. I transfer my control over to you, and then I no longer have access to the trust again. So you are the executive trustee, so you control the trust. You can buy houses in the trust name. You can drive the trust car. You can wear the trust clothes. So now your watch and your clothes are all owned and controlled by the trust. Wow. Your body you could put into the trust. Jewelry you could put into the trust. Really? Land you could put into the trust. So it makes you bulletproof pretty much. So, and nobody is able to check. It's private, so nobody is able to know how much you have or how much assets you have. Wow. And then you have beneficiaries. So your beneficiaries could be your children. It could be your company. It could be I heard Warren Buffett said he wasn't leaving his kids a lot of his wealth, and then there's a guy named Dan Pena. He's a billionaire. He said, "I'm not leaving my kids anything. I'm leaving everything to organizations,
like charity,
to charities." Yes. So you determine that, but you're able to control that. You can say, "Hey, when my son gets married, I want to give him $10,000. When my daughter graduates college, I want to give her $25,000. When I have a grandson, I want to do this." You can say, "I don't want it's a contract." Yeah. So the next generation has to adhere to that contract. You can say, "I don't ever want the land and the houses in our family ever sold. Ever. I want it to stay in the family forever."
I'm immediately thinking about like Prince, Michael Jackson, how they have their catalogs and their estate, and it's like,
well, Prince went into probate. So with a trust, you don't have to do probate tax, inheritance tax, or any of that. It doesn't go to court. Wow. So Prince went into probate over 6 years. So when Prince died, his cousins, his aunties, everybody came. His estate ended up getting split by his half siblings. Michael Jackson, he didn't have a trust. Well, he did have a trust, but it wasn't funded. So
he put no money in it.
He had, because it was unexpected. He didn't know he was going to die, ready. So he hadn't taken the time to put over all his assets over into the trust. So what happened was, when he died, the court had to decide, we're going to give it to his kids and his family. So that takes years. Right. And when we're going through the court process, you got to pay taxes, you got to pay court fees, you got to pay so a lot of his inheritance, a lot of his family's inheritance went to court costs. Wow. Aretha Franklin, same thing, 6 years. Bob Marley, same thing. Offset,
same thing.
Offset just died.
No, Takeoff.
Yeah. Takeoff. I get it mixed up. Takeoff. So Takeoff situation. He has a mother. So when you die and you don't have a will or a trust, it goes to next of kin. Still has to go through probate. So now his father is contesting it because his father wants his part. But who's to say that his father, he would have wanted his father to have any of his legacy? Whitney Houston. When Whitney Houston died, she didn't have a trust or a will. So what happened? It went to next of kin. Who's her next of kin? Her only daughter, Bobby Christina. When Bobby Christina died, what happened? It went to who? Her next of kin. Who was her next of kin? Whitney Houston's ex-husband. So Bobby Brown now has
Whitney Houston's.
Yeah, because it wasn't on paper. There was no trust. Nothing was in place. So our community, we have to do better. We say we get in the bag. We say we building generational wealth. We say we doing all these things, but we don't have our business in order. Right. So if we die today, what happens? What happens to our stuff? The court has to sort it out. And when the court sorts it out, that depletes our resources. Right. Chatwick, same thing. $900,000 they had to pay in court and court costs and taxes because he didn't have a trust.
And all these people you naming, they all were quote unquote successful. They made it. They're making
Steve Jobs had
hundreds
one,
of millions of dollars.
Steve Jobs had one.
It's a community thing.
Nipsey had one.
I think a lot of times people don't like to think about death.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
But it's part of life.
Yeah, it is. It's like. You got I got white friends who believe in getting like life insurance on their children because it's like, okay, if the child died, at least I'm gonna put $1 million life insurance. And Nipsey Hussle said that in his song. Remember last time I was here, he said I think he said $1 million life insurance on my flesh. It's unfortunate that I appreciate him for what he did to say that, but a lot of people didn't even know what that was until he said that. Like, why does a man have $1 million of life insurance on his flesh? So how much does that cost a month? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it depends on how soon you get it.
Right.
So the Rockefellers are born, their family, they're born with $1 million life insurance policy as a kid.
With a B.
So when they die, it replenishes the family bank. So the money goes into the family for the next generation.
That's crazy.
So basically you should get life insurance on your child from day one.
Yes.
Right when they born.
Right when they born. And you know what I'm saying? From what I've learned, it's not that expensive if the child doesn't have any type of complications. But when you older, somebody like 90 years old go and get life insurance, it's like, well, you're going to pay a lot of money because you probably ain't going to be here another 10 years.
So speaking of life insurance, when you connect a life insurance policy with a trust, that's what forms a family bank. So you can have a life insurance. So we don't even have to talk about that. We could talk about living benefits.
Yeah, exactly.
So living benefits means I can benefit from my life insurance while I'm alive. So I can go to the life insurance policy and borrow against it while I'm alive. That's what creates a family bank. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense because I literally was meeting with a friend of the show, Brandon, Minister of Finance, about life insurance. I have an IU. I'm about to get another policy because I just purchase some land, but most people don't know about it, and and like you said, billionaire people are scared to death.
I mean, a lot of times, man, from my experience, bro, people are scared of death. That's why I wrote the quote, don't wait until you're near death before you see the value in living. A lot of times we are very reactive, man. Like, we wait on somebody to die to give them some flowers. We wait on something bad to happen to say, man, I should have got the trust. Or the main thing that I see is a lot of entrepreneurs on the internet not truly taking the time to show people is they failures.
Yeah.
Because you got people, if I hear the word scamming one more time in our community, I know what scamming is. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure you've went on Amazon and ordered something and it didn't come when you said it was going to come. They didn't scam you. You know what I'm saying? Just be professional. Reach out to them. Call them. Figure out what happened. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes mistakes happen. But we take a mistake to a whole nother level and put a name on a person. That's like saying, you know what I'm saying, this man raped this woman. That's almost something you don't come back from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So be careful. I want to encourage our community to be careful with the language and the titles that we putting on people before we put that on there. If they scammed you, they scammed you. But if they just made a mistake and you didn't even reach out to them, you ordered something on Monday and you didn't get it by Wednesday, that's not scamming.
Mm.
But can I ask a question to both of you?
Absolutely.
Is that us, our community, being a product of our past? We have been victimized for so long that I feel like we have been conditioned to think that we're always the victim.
Yeah.
So if you talk to somebody about finance, they're going to say, my mother didn't teach me this, or my grandmother didn't teach me this, but you got people, you got kids now that become millionaires on social media.
You know the one I hate? The devil made me do it.
Devil, yeah.
The devil didn't make you do shit. You did that.
You made that decision.
Nobody wants to take self-accountability. And to be an entrepreneur, the reason why your business is successful is because we take full responsibility for every day that we wake up. Anything that happens, we responsible, even if the employee did it. It's basically like I did it.
Right.
But people don't want to take responsibility. It's always who's right and who's wrong. And when you can take who right and wrong and put it in a trash can, we ain't worried about who's right and who's wrong. Now I'm here for each other's heart. I'm here for what was the mission, what was the goal. I'm not finna nitpick and say who's right and who's wrong. What is the solution that we're attempting to do with the trust? Mm-hmm. What is the solution that we're attempting to do with the living benefits? I'm not worried about the right and the wrong. And so going back to what I was saying, a lot of times when people will fail 1 or 2 times and be ready to just quit.
Right.
Or they'll invest in something and say, man, it didn't work. It don't work like that. This stuff takes time. No, I've never seen a baby come out of a vagina and walk immediately. Have you?
Nope. Never.
So you ain't beating the baby up saying the baby is failure because the baby won't walk. You got to carry the baby. And then I think I watched your TED Talk where you talked about, I don't know Martin Luther King quote per se, but it's in line with what I'm going to say. It's like first the baby has to be carried. Then the baby crawls. Then the baby walks. Then the baby fly with the mind. And you said Martin Luther King quote on your TED Talk.
If I can't fly, I'm going to run.
Absolutely.
If I can't run, I'm going to walk. If I can't walk, I'm going to crawl. But by all means, I'm going to keep moving forward.
I love that. Yeah. That's so true. And you know, Coach Damont, you brought up a good point because like you were saying earlier, a lot of times our community historically has been in survival mode. Yes. And you can't think about the future with intention when you're just worrying about today. I need to eat today. I need to eat tomorrow. But you're not thinking about the next 5-10 years. And I think that's a trap that a lot of us fall into because then once we get that money, we're trying to live our lives kind of like making up for all the times we were suffering.
But not be rich. But if you look at history has taught us we have been in competition with each other since the beginning of time. When they gave up, when they allowed us to move into suburban neighborhoods, now we're in competition with our families. In the church, who sits in the front seat? Who has the biggest hat? Who wears the nicest clothes?
Right.
Whose child goes to the best college?
Yeah.
Who has the best degree? So in our families, there's competition.
Yeah.
So in every other community, their families come together. That's why they have trust, because they trust each other.
Yep.
They're okay, but in our families, I don't mess with that person. I don't do that. They driving a bigger car than me. They got a better job than me. So we're taught to be in competition with each other. So I have several mentors. My millionaire mentor, Steve Nelson, if he's watching this, my millionaire mentor, he told me a story. He said, and he used to pick cotton in Tennessee.
Wow.
And he said, imagine there being a race, and the race started 40 years ago. When you get in the race, there's no way that you'll ever catch up with those people that's been in the race.
Right.
No way. The next 10 generations will never catch up with them people that's been in the race for 400 years. The only thing that you can do is work harder to make it easier for the people coming behind you. That's all you can do. So going back to our community, I don't think that we really think about the people that's coming behind us, because we want to look rich and play rich, but we don't actually want to be rich. Because there's people here sitting right here, and I have friends that we're self-made millionaires. So if we're self-made millionaires and we grew up poor, we slept in our cars, and we've seen our parents struggle, then it's possible. We have the same amount of time, but when you sit down, go through our coaching programs, and we say do X, Y, Z, and you make an excuse why you can't do X, Y, Z, and then you study millionaires, and millionaires say, well, it was a poll that was done with millionaires, and they said, well, how did you become a millionaire? They said, well, I utilize my time. I set goals. I utilize my time. I practice discipline. I invested. I did self development. I read. The average American reads one book a year. I read one book a month, which allowed me to be an expert in my area in 3 years. So when I sit down with somebody and I say, well, I need you to read this book. I need you to read 15 pages a day. And I call them the next day and I say, hey, did you read them 15 pages? Nah, I didn't read. You don't really want this.
You don't want it.
Because when I wanted it, I studied millionaires.
Yeah.
I didn't have the internet. We went to the library. I studied encyclopedias. I studied successful millionaires. I studied their failures. I studied what they did. I studied what they invested in. I studied how many hundreds of times they failed. I studied all those things. That's how I became a millionaire at 24 years old. It was drive.
Yeah.
I was a product of my environment. Everybody in my environment was drug dealers. So I think that if you want it and you willing to unlearn, I think you could do whatever you want to do financially. I know that we could be billionaires. I know that, because if we put our mind to it, we can do it.
Absolutely.
But it's going to take, on every level, it takes a new version of yourself. So for me to make $1 million, I can't use the same thing that it took for me to make 10,000. Right. For me to get to 100 million, I can't do the same thing that it took for me to get to $1 million. I have to change on every level. And I think the problem is people stay conditioned to slavery mindset. Slavery mindset is 9 to 5. I want my check on Friday. Even if I got a hustle or a business, I'm still spending it before it comes. Yep. I'm still dependent on it to live. So
nah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I think if we taught people the most important part of any business is structure and organization. That's it. But a lot of people, they'll jump out the window with the product and just focus on the money and the sales. Right. And then when the money comes in, if you don't have no structure, say you hit $1 million in sales and you don't got no structure and no organization, who gonna ship it? Who gonna box it up? So you finna
have a lot of complaints.
You finna have a lot of complaints, and you out of business before you can even go in business. So you know, I encourage what do I mean when I say structure and organization? Like, first off, learn what a trust is. Learn what living benefits is. Learn what the difference between LLC and C Corp. Learn what enterprises are. You also want to learn, like, when you got your email, you know, make sure your email is like wealthy@billionairepa.com. Like
professional email.
A professional email, not Gmail. Like, you want to be a billionaire, every little detail matters on the back end. I always encourage people, get 4 banks at least. You know what I'm saying? Don't put all your trust in just one bank. You know what I'm saying? Get at least 4 banks.
Relationships is very important.
Let's talk about the 1% Club.
The 1% Club is the best club financial platform that ever existed. I'll tell you the background, and then I'll bring you up to the 1% Club.
Sure.
So talking to my billionaire mentor, he used to talk about the 1% Club. Well, I'm in the 1% Club. I'm in the 1% Club. And I never really knew what the 1% Club was. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know the mindset of the 1%. I didn't even know how you became a 1%er. I thought it was really just about money. So I understood by being mentored that the 1% are saying is the 1% are the people that do what the other 99% won't do. So the 1% are the people that, you know, don't use excuses. The 1% are the people that get up extra early when they say, oh, I don't have time. Well, maybe you gotta get up at 6 or 5 or 3 and read or study or do self-improvement or exercise. So the 1% are different level. Oprah, Tyler, those people in our community, Jay-Z, those people are in the 1%. You know, so the 1% Club was birthed. I'm a co-founder with my two business partners, Tyree and Tedrick. They're in Houston. We have a huge complex in Houston, studio, office, sales team, and we merged together. All of our backgrounds were in credit, so we merged together to do the 1% Club, which I know would be the #1 financial literacy platform out here.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All right. So how would somebody get involved with that? Because I'm sure people are watching this like, damn, I want to make a trust. I want to get my finances right. How would they get involved?
Well, I want to tell you the benefits, and I'll tell you how you can get involved.
Perfect.
So the benefits to being a member. So just like I'm not sure if you are, but me and Billionaire and I are in the American Express Club. So in the American Express Club, we know what our benefits are. We may only say, hey, we're going to join the American Express Club so that we can get into the Centurion Lounge, or so that we can get gold status with Hilton or Marriott, or so that we can have a unlimited card, you know, or whatever. So we know that we're not going to use all the benefits, but we're going to have access to the benefits. So what the 1% Club does is it gives you access to the things that you need, whether it's funding, whether it's business credit, whether it's credit, boosting your credit score, eliminating debt. Like I told you, you can move your debt over to your trust and it eliminates your debt. That's way better than credit repair.
You do credit lines too?
Trade lines, funding, all those things are part of the 1% Club. Is access. So when you're a part of the 1% Club, you have access. So you can go and sit at tables that most people can't sit at. You can go to events that most people won't be at. You can have access to relationships in the network that most people wouldn't have access to that network. So that's what the 1% Club is. Everybody in the 1% Club gets a family trust, that's very important. So we help you to learn how to use it, learn how to leverage it. And then if you have debt, you can move your debt over to your trust. That's the Debt Deletion Club, which is a elite club that you can join once you get into the 1% Club. But no family in the 1% Club should ever have debt again, because legally you can move your debt over to the trust, which eliminates you from the debt. And now you're debt free.
Okay, wait. How does that work? You move the debt into the trust and it goes.
You can
away?
move anything to a trust. I just told you can move your body to a trust. You can move those glasses to a trust. You can move your watch to a trust. You can move anything to a trust. So yes, you can move assign debt to a trust. And then we go through a validation process. And then after the validation process, the debt is erased. So you can. I had somebody the other day, Capital One, it was erased with Capital One after they moved their debt over to the trust, and they tried to call Capital One to pay the bill. Capital One was like, no, we don't even have it in our records. So it removes it.
That's crazy.
Credit repair, what I just told you, I've been in for 20 years. Credit repair companies, what they do is they send letters. So it gets it off your credit report, but it's still in the universe.
You still owe it.
Yeah, you still owe it. And if you try to get an account with that company or that bank, they're gonna say, no, you still owe us. And it may stop you from getting a lot of things later on down the road. They also can sue you. They can sell that debt to another collection agency. They can garnish you. They could still come and try to put a lien against your property. They could do a lot of different things with a judgment. But with debt deletion, the debt is erased. It's eliminated.
Wow. So I'm sorry, but it's still just not making no sense to me how I can owe Capital One $2,000. I'm moving into my trust. Is it taking the money out of my trust? Or? The debt has to be validated legally. We go through a legal process. Okay. So after it's been transferred over to the trust, which is legal, we go through the validation process, which is legal, and then we prove how you no longer are responsible for that debt. So it goes into the trust, and then it's removed. Wow.
Yeah. Same with taxes.
And that's just one of the benefits.
Are you in real estate?
Yeah.
All right. So you pay capital gains tax?
Yeah.
I don't pay capital gains tax, because what happens is when I buy, I used to when I was younger, but since I learned how to leverage a trust, I don't pay capital gains tax. So when I buy a property with my trust, and then I sell a property with my trust, I don't, as long as the money stays in that trust, I don't have to pay capital gains on the profit, the capital the capital gains. Legally, what happens is it's deferred. So it's deferred until you die, and when you die, it's written off.
Gone.
Yes.
So as long as you don't take it out, no taxes.
Well, you can buy new things for the trust, the trust name. So the trust can buy more properties and land and buildings and those types of things, yes.
Got it,
yeah,
okay.
I think a lot of us so used to taking our money and putting it in the
right.
bank, and we like saying, that's where the quote comes in, like, own nothing, control everything. So all your money is in the trust. So it makes
which is in a bank. It's still in a bank, but it's in a trust bank account.
Yeah, so whatever you need, you just put it in the trust name and leaving everything alone.
And you can get credit. You can get credit with your trust. You can buy property with your trust. Anything you can do as a person, you can do.
I'm fully understanding what the brother is painting on the wall. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's speaking it into. Hey man, I've got to give you a gift, man, on national television. I'm gonna go ahead and speak it into existence, man.
Thank you.
Speak your dreams into existence. I owed you one of those, so I wanted to,
I'm a world changer.
So people can
I'm
see
a world changer.
I'm
going to be known for building the most.
Well, balance your bank accounts out, man. You
all on the left, right? We need someone
that on the left. You need someone on the left side, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you for putting me next to the watch.
I want to give you a gift. I want to give you a gift too. I don't know where the box is. I think all the boxes got mixed up, but I'm gonna give it to you when you leave. But I have a trust for you, and also I created a family trust for you.
I'll show that to the camera.
Yeah, so that's a gift I want to give to you, Billionaire PA Family Trust, and I want to help you to start building your family trust as well.
Wow.
This is the best. This is an amazing gift right here, my brother.
That's a beautiful gift.
Hey, I'm never gonna forget this day on 2/9 at 4:53 p.m. Hey man, when you cut them videos, you better cut this up.
I got
you. Hey man, I got my first family trust.
Every family needs a trust.
I love that.
Every family needs a trust.
I love that so much because black men giving each other real gifts. Like you see a lot of rappers giving each other, cars, jewelry, but like, what is that really doing? You really just taking your money and transferring it to another community.
Speaking of rappers, and I know Billionaire did this the last time he was here, but Nipsey gave us the blueprint, man. Nipsey gave us it's 4 levels to building wealth. If you don't get anything out of this podcast, he said, open trust accounts, deposit racks. So the first step to the blueprint, he said, was open a trust account. $1 million life insurance on my flesh. So then you fund it. So that's where you start putting the money in your life insurance, in your trust. Then it's not taxable, so you're not paying taxes. Beamers, Benz, Bentley, or Lex. So then you buy the liabilities. Mm-hmm. You already have your assets. Your assets are protected. Your money's over here. Everything's good. Ferraris or them Lambos, that's what's next. So it's levels. You don't start with buying the Lambos and then buying the G-Wagons and then buying the $100,000 Corvettes and then buying the Bentleys and then saying, oh, well, I want to build generational wealth. You're in too much debt, sweetheart. You're in too much debt. You're trying to look rich, but you're not actually rich. When you see people,
you're famous and broke.
Yeah, famous and broke. And it's a lifestyle you're trying to live versus buying assets. Elite wealthy people, they buy assets and they let their assets pay for their liabilities. And they're protected and they don't get in tax trouble because they're protected with taxes. If you can keep more of the money that you have to pay in taxes, that's your investment money. But if you spending more than you got coming in, and you're paying the IRS, and then you're getting your tax, it's tax income time. People happy that they getting the tax return. You work for that money. And if you don't, and if you're going to go on vacation, or you're going to spend that money on at the mall, or you about to go buy a new car or furniture, then you don't even need it no way. And to take that money and invest that money and have that money working for you, get an asset every year with your tax money. In 10 years, you have 10 assets, income producing assets. That's something to retire off of.
That message is so important because I talk to so many artists and creators, people doing things that are exciting, and they see the lifestyle and they want to, look rich, but nobody really is telling them, hey, like, get a trust, get life insurance. We need more people like you in the community setting these things up so people know, like, oh, I go to Coach Damont to get ready.
You gotta also respect the fact that, it's also, let's just be straightforward, it's also marketing to ride around in that Lamborghini. So whatever it is that I'm selling, You know what I'm saying? I'm also using that. It's an asset. So the reason why it's an asset is because it brings attention to me to get me more money.
What say you, Coach Damont, about that?
But when you get a Lamborghini, then you become a target.
Yeah.
Which I agree, you should have. I think everybody should have whatever they dream. That's what bro speaks about. Speak your dreams into existence. If my dream is to have a Lamborghini, I think you should have it. But when should you have it?
Right.
If my dream is to live in a 21 bedroom house, then I think you should have it. If
priorities.
That's what I think you should have whatever you dream of, right? Yeah. But when should you have it? But just know, whenever you get that 21 bedroom house or that Lamborghini or that G-Wagon, that people gonna come after you. They gonna come after you because now I can come up off you, so I'm gonna sue you. So with a trust, you are lawsuit proof. You are bulletproof. They can't sue you and take your G-Wagon, or sue you and take your Lamborghini, or sue you and take your house, or sue you and take your watch. They can't sue you because why?
It's in a trust.
And what? You don't own it.
Oh, don't own it, right?
But you control it.
But you control
as
it
a trustee.
Yo, that
so as a trustee of your family trust, you are now a trustee. So you have power, but they can't touch you.
Damn, this is powerful. I'm about to go home and look up all types of trusts.
I want you to
speak it into existence. Yeah. Imagine if we looked at everything we invested. See, a lot of people, bro, they sell their time. But what if our family taught us how to invest our time? We sell time every day. But what if you woke up every day and we said every single thing you did, like today, coming here, look at everything in life as two things, a liability or an asset. So now we got to say, what's the definition of a liability? What's the definition of an asset? Most people don't know. That's why they be getting liabilities and don't know it's a liability. I know they do. My mama got plenty of them. She swear it's an asset because it's something she wanted. It don't make no money. It just makes her feel good. So my point is, imagine every woman you spent your time with, she got to be an asset. How would you look at her? Knowing that she got to bring value. What's important to you? What's important to me is health, wealth. So she got to help bring money in. She got to help bring health in. You know how many men and women ain't helping bringing that into some people's lives? So they're a liability. So if we go get the car, you got to say, okay, is this car an asset or a liability? It's two people with the same Lamborghini. With some people, it's an asset, and with other people, it's a liability. Because some people are sitting thinking, how can I make me more wealth? Right. Not rich, wealth. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people hear these quotes like own nothing, control everything, but don't understand the quote. Right. But you got to remember, it's a word doesn't have any value without the definition. A woman doesn't want to be called a bitch, not just because of the word. It's because the definition that follows that word means she's a female dog. So if people knew the definition of a trust and knew what it stood for, if they knew the benefits, like we said with the American Express, I don't have an American Express card just because it's American Express. I have an American Express card because the benefits, the definition of what they're offering fits my lifestyle. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, and that's why I encourage people to understand. Go and look up a trust and read the definition of your trust so you can fully understand what a trust is. Don't just jump off the podcast like, man, I'm finna go get a trust and then be like, oh, this one didn't work. I mean, you know. Right, it's a scam because it ain't work.
But if you join the 1% Club, we'll show you how to use it.
Absolutely.
We'll give you all the training you need. You'll be in a community of hundreds of people that have trust and trust bank accounts. We help you set up your bank account. You could go into your bank and get a trust. People say, oh, is it legal? If you could go into a Chase Bank and get a trust bank account, it's legal. You know, so I think that this is the move to be able to help change the narrative of our families.
Absolutely. I appreciate you because this is what we need. We need more people creating avenues for others to elevate themselves. How can people get tapped in with you if they really are trying to get part of
I'm Coach Damont on Instagram, COACH, Damont, DAMONT. The 1% Club is club_1% on Instagram. You can follow us. We're also on YouTube. Billionaire PA is a part of the 1% Club. I'm hoping that you will be a part of the 1% Club.
It's enticing, goddamn.
Yes. So we're planning a lot of great things. Even here in Miami, we're planning yacht parties and galas and and conferences in Houston. So we have a lot of great things in store. We would like for you to be a part of it too. And thank you for having me on your platform.
Absolutely,
man.
absolutely. I
This
love to
means
bring
a lot.
brothers on
It
who
means a
are
lot.
speaking a great message, and you dropped on so much gems. I got to do my research because I'm late to the trust game, honestly.
Hey man, but hey, the fact that
Irrevocable trust.
absolutely. I mean,
But just understand, because people say I'm gonna do my research. There are over 150 different types of trust. So this is contract law. So based upon what's in the contract determines the benefits of the contract. So there's a lot. There's land trust. There's lots of different types of trust. So this particular trust that we have is a irrevocable, bulletproof, private express trust.
Irrevocable, bulletproof, private express trust.
that man used a lot of adjectives.
He did.
Or it was them adverbs. I don't know, but hey, get your trust, man. Speak it into existence.
Yo, that's so dope. I think they about to get ready to kick us out soon. So you gave the shout outs. I appreciate you. Everybody, please tap in with Coach Damont. Get your life righty. Get your life right. Join the 1% Club.
Hey man, love you to life. Appreciate your existence.
Absolutely.
Love you to life.